It was a quiet, chilly evening when Elijah stood at the entrance of the old tunnel, one that stretched beneath the hills, long abandoned by trains and forgotten by time. A flickering lamp dangled from a rusted hook above the archway, casting soft shadows on the damp stone. Elijah was 16, the kind of boy who spoke little, but thought deeply. Life had not been gentle with him. He had lost his mother at a young age, and his father, though present, was mostly absent in spirit, burdened by his own grief, working long hours, speaking in half sentences. People around Elijah often said, "He's a quiet kid," or "There's something different about him." No one asked why. They just labeled him and moved on. But tonight was different. Tonight, Elijah had chosen to walk through the tunnel. Not because he had to, but because he needed to. It wasn't just about getting to the other side. It was about proving something to himself. He had heard stories that the tunnel was haunted, cursed, or filled with creatures that whispered your deepest fears. None of that mattered to him. What mattered was that it was dark inside, pitch black, and that darkness mirrored the way he had been feeling for months. He stood at the edge, clutching a small flashlight, old, weak, and barely brighter than a candle. He flicked it on. A thin beam cut through the black, only a few feet ahead. He took a deep breath. One step, then another. The tunnel swallowed him whole. The light from outside disappeared behind him as the curve of the path turned. The silence inside wasn't empty. It was heavy. He could hear his own breathing, the faint echo of each footstep, and the quiet tap of water dripping from the ceiling. With every step forward, the darkness seemed thicker. The flashlight flickered once, then again. He paused. Fear whispered, "What if the light dies?" But another voice, quieter, deeper, rose in him. "Then you walk in the dark, one step at a time." So Elijah kept going, alone, in the dark, with only a flicker of light, and something deep inside pushing him forward. As Elijah walked deeper, his footsteps began to echo louder, not because the tunnel had changed, but because the silence had thickened. The air grew colder. Walls, once distant, now seemed to lean inward, as if the tunnel itself were watching him. The flashlight trembled slightly in his hand. Whether from fear or the chill, he didn't know. Suddenly, a sound. Not loud, just different, like a whisper, riding the air currents. He froze. "Turn back," it seemed to say. He spun around. Nothing, just darkness stretching behind him. He raised the flashlight, but the beam was dimming. He slapped the side of the torch. Flick. The light steadied. For now. He took a deep breath. "There's nothing here," he whispered to himself. But the fear didn't listen. His pace slowed. His heartbeat picked up. He passed an old wooden bench, rotted, barely holding together. He passed a pile of stones. Looked like something had collapsed there long ago. Every object in the tunnel felt like it held a memory, a story, a warning. But Elijah kept going, because even though fear sat on his shoulders, a quiet voice inside kept whispering something stronger. "Keep going. You've already come this far." His flashlight flickered again. Then, it went out. Complete black. Instant panic. He gripped the flashlight tighter, shook it, pressed every button. Nothing. His breath came faster. He could hear it bouncing off the walls, like distant waves crashing back. He wanted to scream, but he knew it wouldn't help. He knew it would only make the darkness feel louder. He pressed his back to the wall, slid down slowly, and sat. The silence swallowed him. And that's when the other voice came. Inside him, not outside. You thought the light was the reason you were moving forward. But you've always had more than just the flashlight. You've had your own steps, your own will, your own courage. It didn't feel comforting at first, but then it made sense. He closed his eyes. What if I trust the dark? What if I move without seeing everything? He opened his eyes again. Nothing had changed. Still black, still cold. But something in him felt steadier now. He stood up, blind but not lost, and took one more step. Elijah stood in complete blackness. No flashlight, no visible path, no sounds, but his own breath. And yet, he moved. One step, then another. Each time his foot met solid ground, he felt a tiny flicker of certainty light up inside him. Not in his eyes, but in his chest. He reached out slowly, brushing the tunnel wall with his fingertips. Cold, damp stone, but steady, real. He let that contact guide him. The fear didn't vanish, but it changed. It became background noise, like the wind you stop noticing after a while. After maybe 10 or 15 steps, he wasn't counting. Something shifted, not in the tunnel, in him. He started to listen differently, not just to sounds, but to his own movements, to how his feet pressed the ground, to how his heart beat in rhythm with his breathing. He noticed that when he hesitated, the darkness felt heavier, but when he moved, it opened up, just enough for the next step. And that's when something unbelievable happened. Far ahead, barely visible, he saw it. A faint glow, a pulse of orange-yellow warmth. Not daylight, not a spotlight, just a small light, like a candle flame. He paused. Was it real? He blinked. It was still there. Not close, but definitely there. His heart beat faster, not from fear. This time, it was hope. Maybe I'm not alone in here, he thought. Or maybe that's me, the part of me that never gave up. He didn't care if it was real or imagined. He just knew he had to reach it. He picked up his pace, not running, but with purpose, like a man not afraid of the dark anymore. And as he walked, the darkness didn't feel like an enemy anymore. It felt like a test. Elijah kept walking toward the faint glow. It wasn't getting closer fast, but it was constant, a single dot of orange in an ocean of black. His hands brushed the tunnel wall as he moved, his fingers now more confident, less tense. The darkness hadn't changed, but he had. He whispered under his breath, "I'm not walking with fear anymore. I'm walking with fire." The glow flickered, just once. As he approached, Elijah saw what it truly was. A lantern. Not electric, not modern, just a small metal oil lantern, sitting on a ledge carved into the tunnel wall. Its flame steady, though it had no visible source. He reached for it slowly, like it might vanish if he moved too quickly. His fingers touched the cold metal. Nothing disappeared. No trick. It was real. He picked it up, and in that moment, everything shifted. The tunnel didn't just light up, it opened up. Walls that once felt like they were closing in now looked spacious. Stones he almost tripped over before now looked like stepping stones. The bench he passed earlier, now it looked like a resting spot, not a warning. The tunnel didn't change, he thought. Only my way of seeing it did. The lantern wasn't magic. It was himself, his clarity, his willingness to move forward despite the dark. He realized something else too. If he had waited for someone else to come light the way, if he had stood still, he never would have seen this light. The flame had always been ahead, waiting, but only for those who walked. And that's when the real message hit him. So quiet, so simple, it nearly broke him. Sometimes, the light doesn't find you. You have to become it. His eyes welled up, not from fear, from knowing. He wasn't weak. He wasn't lost. He was just in training. Elijah held the lantern tight, not like a boy clutching safety, but like a guide holding responsibility. The flame wasn't strong. It didn't blind the dark, but it pushed it back, just enough. He walked with his head higher now, not because the fear was gone, but because he had chosen not to bow to it anymore. This tunnel isn't here to trap me, he thought. It's here to train me. For the first time, he noticed things he hadn't before. Scratches on the wall. They looked like old handprints. A broken pair of shoes lying in the corner. A small piece of cloth with writing on it, barely legible. If you made it this far, you're already winning. Elijah smiled. He wasn't the first to walk through this. He wouldn't be the last. But right now, he was walking. And not just that. He was walking as light. Suddenly, he heard something. A voice. Faint. Shaking. Hello? Is someone there? He stopped. Turned. Far behind. In the blackness he had already passed through. A flicker. Not from a lamp. From someone else's eyes. Scared. Alone. Like he was just an hour ago. A boy. No older than 10. Knees trembling. Hugging himself. I got lost, the boy said. My flashlight died. I was waiting for someone. Elijah's grip tightened on the lantern. He remembered how it felt. To be waiting. To be invisible. To be cold. He didn't hesitate. He turned back. Walked slowly toward the boy. When he reached him, he knelt down, smiled, and said, "You don't have to wait anymore. I brought the light." The boy's eyes filled with tears, but he nodded, stood, and took Elijah's hand. Two people, one lantern, and as they walked forward together, the tunnel didn't seem so long anymore. Step by step, Elijah and the boy moved forward. The lantern in Elijah's hand didn't grow brighter, but it seemed to light more now, not because the tunnel was changing, but because their fear was shrinking. The boy stayed close, quiet, but his shoulders relaxed. His breath evened out. At one point, he whispered, "I thought I was going to be stuck here forever." Elijah didn't answer right away, then softly said, "I did too. But we don't get stuck in the dark unless we stop walking." And they didn't stop. They passed the bench, the stones, the crooked wood. But now, they looked like milestones, not obstacles. Then, up ahead, a soft glow, not lantern light, daylight, real, full, open sky light. The boy gasped. They quickened their pace, but not in panic, in quiet joy. And then, finally, they stepped out. The world beyond the tunnel felt too bright at first. They blinked, adjusting. The breeze smelled like trees and rain. The sky stretched wide above them. The boy let go of Elijah's hand, took a few steps forward, turned back, and said, "Thank you for coming back for me." Elijah smiled, the kind of smile that comes from the soul. "It's what we do," he said. "Once you find the light, you help someone else find theirs." The boy nodded, then ran toward a small path where someone was waiting. Elijah stood there a moment longer, watching the tunnel behind him, not with fear, with reverence, because he realized the darkness didn't beat him, it built him. He didn't come out of that tunnel the same. He came out carrying something more powerful than light. He came out shining. The strongest people aren't the ones who've never walked through darkness. They're the ones who kept walking until they became the light. If you're in a tunnel right now, keep going. Your light is ahead, or maybe it's already inside you. Keep rising.